What's up? What's up? I'm Dr. Omatma, host of Egg Meets Sperm, where we're busting fertility myths, sharing tangible tips for your fertility journey, and bringing you the most knowledgeable guests to support your journey to parenthood. This podcast is for both women and men because getting fertile as fuck is for both partners, don't you think? Remember, just listening to this podcast won't get you pregnant, but following the tips we share just may. Let's get you fertile AF so that you can co-create the family you dream of. And if your partner's not listening to this, make sure to share this episode with your partner. Hello and welcome to Egg Meets Sperm. My guest today is Kela, who is the CEO and program director of the Hormone Puzzle Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and pregnancy. Through this platform, Coach Kela works with women who are struggling with infertility and hormone imbalance and teaches them how to optimize their bodies and hormones to get pregnant, stay pregnant, and have a healthy super baby, an easy postpartum, as well as eliminate symptoms of hormonal imbalance. Kela brings over 20 years of experience as a professional fitness trainer, wellness educator, and author, 5 times board certified integrative holistic health and wellness coach, and certified functional nutritionist. She's also pursuing a PhD in natural and holistic medicine, and by 2023, she will be Dr. Kela. She is also a mentor to future fertility experts through her Fertility Coach Certification Course and the host of the Hormone Puzzle Podcast, Solving-Infertility Summit, and the Healthy, Happy Pregnancy Summit. Welcome, Kela.
Thanks,
so
Dr.
great to have you.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm excited.
Awesome. So let's jump right in. What is the Hormone Puzzle and what does this have to do with conception?
Yes. So the Hormone Puzzle is an acronym, and it's one that I created when I was going through my own fertility struggles. And it's one I use with all of my clients. And the reason I created it is because I felt very out of control when I was struggling with infertility. A lot of stuff was happening to me. A lot of people were telling me what to do with my body. And I just wanted something really easy that I could remember to do every day and take back my control. So I'm going to go through what the puzzle stands for. It stands for P, proper whole food nutrition, U, understanding supplements, Z, zapping stress, Z's, sleep, L is love and encouragement, E is exercise and environment. And so those are the things that I do, every day to make sure that my hormones are balanced, my fertility is optimized.
Okay, so already you guys, puzzle is a really good tip for all of the things that you can focus on through your day-to-day.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's so true. Like fertility does bring out a lot of this feeling out of control and not being able to feel like we're in the driver's seat, right? Mm-hmm. And it's hard. It's super
and it
hard.
Sucks.
Yeah. So what is the number one thing that you see couples doing that's affecting or jeopardizing their fertility?
It's nutrition. I see this time and time again where couples will come to me, and there's 2 groups of people I really work with. So the first one, they're eating pretty healthy. They come to me and they're like, I'm already doing all the things. I'm eating healthy. But I like to teach them that when you're eating for fertility, it's a little bit different. It's kind of a step up from just eating healthy. It's not just the chicken breasts and the salads. It's specific nutrients and making sure that you're flooding your body with nutrition. That's the other piece I see with that group of people is that they're just not eating enough and they're not getting those nutrients that they need. So that's one side of the equation. And then the other side is people that are just not eating right at all. They're not getting any nutrients. I have one client right now, she eats 0 vegetables. So I'm like, if you're going to get pregnant, we have to get those nutrients in your body. So that's the number one thing I see is people just are not eating correctly and they're not eating the right nutrients and the right nutrition to optimize their hormones so they can get pregnant.
Yeah. And would you say like nutrition is really interesting because I feel like there's the overwhelming trendy stuff out in the world. And then there's how does this affect my hormones and my fertility? And I feel like that question doesn't get asked often enough. Would you agree with that?
I would, yes. And what I see a lot is I do a lot of testing, and I know you do too, but I'll do mineral analysis testing through hair. and I'll see that people are low in minerals. Magnesium is a big one I see.
Yeah.
Magnesium, calcium is off is another one I see a lot. So
Absolutely.
It's like you could be eating super healthy, but your minerals are off. And that goes back to your gut health is compromised. So you're eating, but you're not absorbing what you need to. And so your minerals are off or deficient.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I know that you probably are customizing diets a lot.
Yes.
But is there a general theme or a general sense of someone who maybe is just starting on this journey, or maybe they've been on this journey and they're like, I eat pretty healthy. Is there something that they can be like, yes, I'm doing these things, or maybe I'm not, and I need to get some support with this?
For sure. So I teach something called the magic plates, and it's a really easy way to break your plate up where you don't have to count calories. You don't have to count macros. You can just kind of look at your plate or look at your meal and know you're getting these nutrients that you need. So what that looks like is break your plate into thirds. Third of your plate's going to be protein. That can be animal or plant, but I would highly encourage you, if you are a vegan or vegetarian. I always say, if you're doing that for religious purposes, I'm not going to change your mind, but you really need some animal protein if you're trying to get pregnant because of the heme iron that's in that protein. So third of the plate, animal protein or plant protein, but just make sure you're getting your protein. A third of the plate is going to be vegetables. And I want you to eat the color of the rainbow. Eat 2 or 3 different vegetables with each meal. The CDC and the WHO say we need 3 to 5 servings. I've looked at the research. We really need like 10 to 12 servings of vegetables a day. And I promise you, many people are not doing that.
Yeah. And I love the generalized, like 8 servings of fruits and vegetables.
Oh, right.
Right? Like, well, let's talk about how many vegetables need to be part of this.
Yes. So I say do 2 to 3 vegetables per plate. It doesn't have to be like a huge quantity. A half a cup of vegetables is 1 serving. So it can be small. So third of the plate's vegetables, then a third of the plate's going to be a slow burning carb or grain. So this is going to be like your sweet potatoes, your pumpkin, your squash, your eggplant, or a grain if you're not sensitive to grains. And that's another topic we can discuss. But grains would be like a quinoa, a brown rice, a buckwheat, something like that. And then 1 to 2 tablespoons of a healthy fat. So this is going to be your avocados, your nuts and seeds, your fatty fish, but make sure you're getting enough fat, because that's the other thing I see with a lot of people. We are harped on to have low cholesterol. And what is cholesterol? It's fat. And I see a lot of people struggling with infertility and actually miscarriage that are lower than 160 on their cholesterol. Yeah. So eat that fat, ladies. It's so good. It's delicious. It's satisfying. So let's eat the fat.
The number of times I'm like, well, you're actually low on the cholesterol. And they're like, wait, what? I thought that was a good thing. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of need it to make hormones. Right.
It's the little building
thing. Block. Yep. So yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. With the carbs, because I get this question a lot. Let's say it's grains and you've told them it's okay for you to eat buckwheat. Is it the same to eat the whole grain versus buckwheat flour turned into bread or pasta or whatever?
I want you to eat the whole grain if possible, if you're not sensitive, because when the grain is processed, it loses the grain oils. And what the grain oils do is open your cells so that you can absorb your nutrients. So if your cells are closed because they don't have that grain oil that they need to open, then toxins get trapped in there, your nutrients can't get in, and the toxins can't get out. So yes, if you're eating grains, try to eat the whole grain. That's the other thing too. I see a lot of people that are trying to be gluten-free, and that's great. I want you to be gluten-free from processed gluten, but whole sprouted grains are actually, unless you're like a celiac or something like that, you should be having some whole sprouted grains.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm glad that we're on the same page on so much of that. I feel like there's always going to be the trendy diets, but in reality, most diets remove certain food groups. We had the freaking like Atkins diet that was like, remove all the carbs, but eat lots of fat and protein. And now we have the keto diet, which is essentially the same thing. Right. Vaguely similar. And then the paleo, which is remove all the grains and remove all the carbs. So I think maybe some of these trendy diets are helpful for certain people in certain time periods. But really remembering that you don't need to be on the next diet trend and really focus on hey, I'm eating whole foods and I'm getting a diversity of vegetables. I'm not cutting out complex, unprocessed carbs because I need those for producing hormones, right? So really great tips here.
Yep. And what I see too, why some of those diets work so well, and I'm the same as you, I think eat whole food nutrition, don't be on any of these diets. But the one place I see them working is because you're cutting processed foods and you're eating more whole foods.
Absolutely.
It's not that you're cutting the carbs, you're cutting the packages.
Yeah, I see that all the time. I'm like, okay, so let's really break down what you were eating before and then you doing this diet. And the theme in every single diet is you went from a standard American diet, eating extremely processed, to now paying attention to what's on your plate. Very simple, right? But if we want to really get to that point of living in a fertile way and really supporting and optimizing our fertility, then we want to make sure that we're getting all of the nutrients, a nutrient-rich diet that is actually supporting hormones and fertility. Exactly.
I love it.
Okay. So from your perspective, fertility is maybe just not like a physical only thing. What are some of the other aspects that are playing a role or having an impact in fertility?
So I like to teach the top-down philosophy. This is a quantum physics philosophy, and I'm actually training to be a quantum medicine doctor. And this is showing how fertility, even though it is it happens in the physical body, we actually have 5 different bodies, starting from the top with our bliss body, going down into supramental, which is thoughts, feelings, and emotions, to mental, which is our thinking, to vital, which is our energetic bodies, which is what you tap into with acupuncture and things like that. And then our physical body. So starting with consciousness, starting with your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, you can really affect your physical body. And it's a little bit of mindset, the mindset piece, the mind-body connection, where if you're in that negative pattern loop on a regular basis saying, this isn't going to work, this has never worked, my body is broken, I'm too old, my eggs are old, and yada, 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 then you're telling yourself that and it's coming down into your physical body and you're actually creating that physiology and your body's responding. That also causes your stress to go up, your cortisol to go up, and the hormones we need for fertility to be put on pause or to come down. And I do a lot of stuff with the mindset work and the, telling yourself that this is going to work, that you are fertile, that you can do this, that your eggs are not old, and just breaking those previous where you've been programmed to believe this.
Right. Yes. And the programming is kind of deep. And maybe you do this too, is women that are over the age of 35 have heard this so much, right? Have you seen this uptick of 30-year-olds now that are getting the same message? Like, oh, it's your eggs. You're too old. Like, you're 30. Now we're extending this 35 thing to 30. Like, what is it going to be next? Unless you're 18, you can't have babies. Right?
It's so crazy. And I heard this. I had this guest on my podcast the other day, and she was talking about where that came from. Have you heard this? The age? It came from the Catholic Church from the 1960s.
Yeah.
And they stopped seeing women baptize their babies when they were 35. And they said, well, they must not be having babies. Yeah. So this is like the cutoff age.
Right.
So crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Not
true. Yeah. I think the misconceptions around this are deep, but it's so entrenched in our culture that it becomes our mindset, even when it's unconscious. I think I was like 32, 33 and freaking out because I didn't have the right person yet, And I was like, oh my God, am I ever going to have a child? It was work to like untrain this. And so are there some things that you found that are easy ways to reset our mindset to this is not about what the world is saying, but this is my own experience. And I want to have this trust and connection and faith in my own body.
I love the I am exercise where you just tell your body, like, I am powerful. I am fertile. I am strong. And what this does is it reprograms your brain to start to believe these things. And then I'll have my clients, anytime they have that negative thought pop into their head, maybe a doctor said something to them or their friend said something to them or somebody, and I'll just have them switch it immediately to say like, no, I am fertile. I am strong. I am powerful. And so you kind of stop that thought in its tracks. And what happens when you have repetitive thoughts that are like that, your brain starts to link around that. Your brain neurons in your brain will start to link around that. And that again creates your physiology. Mm-hmm. And so just breaking that cycle and immediately saying, no, like I am fertile and I'm strong and I am going to get pregnant. And so you start to train your brain to believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
Yeah.
Are there other things that you believe that mindset is doing in its role in the fertility journey? Is there other pieces that we need to consider?
Well, I just think of what I said before, it creates our physiology. It can manifest symptoms and it can also aggravate symptoms. So the more that you can switch that, and I'm a huge fan of meditation. I know sometimes people will roll their eyes when I say this, but I feel like so much of the fertility journey, you're in that masculine energy where you're trying to do things, and you should be doing that. We talked about the hormone puzzle earlier. You should be doing those things. Those are physical things that you can do, but you also need to sit in your feminine energy and just relax and do some deep breathing and meditate and get into that energy of the vital body so that you can relax, lower your stress response. And again, that will start to shift that mindset and have your mind be calm and relaxed. And that parasympathetic nervous system is on and it's optimizing your fertility in that way.
Mm-hmm. I love this because I truly am obsessed with this masculine and feminine. So can we just go into this? I know this is not on our list
right?
To talk about, but honestly, this is what fascinates me. And I feel like because you're saying this, I'm guessing that you're seeing this in your practice too, is this overt need to be in our masculine, getting into our fertility world, right? This whole like, oh, I need to time my sex and I need to pee on these sticks and I need to do this and I need to take these injections and I need to do and I need to do and I need to do. And it's like overtly masculine. Everything about it is masculine. And we forget that at the core, fertility is feminine. Fertility is essentially the embodiment of our feminine energy. Mm-hmm. It's our ability to receive and create life. Mm-hmm. So in your experience, A, why are we in our masculine so much? And B, how do we shift into our feminine? And I think meditation and sitting and breathing and all of that is great. But are there other tools that can help really bring us into our feminine and embrace this receiving energy?
Yes. So I think the reason why we're in this masculine energy is because we want to force, we want to push, we want to do all the things and force our body to do something that it should be doing naturally. And sometimes that's very stressful. So it shoots up that stress response. It turns on that sympathetic nervous system. And then your body's almost like this freeze and fight mode. And you're just super anxious and stressed and tight. Whereas I feel like feminine energy, you're just letting go. You're letting this energy come to you. You're letting this baby come to you and you're using your intuition. You're trusting, you're knowing that it's going to happen and you're just flowing through this energy. It's such a beautiful place to be. And it makes me so excited because another thing I say a lot is that I feel like getting pregnant, even though it's physical, it's also a little bit magical. You have to let this come into your life and let it happen and just kind of let go, like I said. And I feel like that's where we can step into that feminine energy. It's just let go and trust yourself and trust the process and know that it will happen.
Right. So we started this conversation talking about control and I want to bring it back around to, it almost seems like a paradox to me. How do I be in the driver's seat and feel like I'm in control while I'm letting go and not trying to control it? Does that make sense? It's almost my brain is struggling with this.
Yeah, I think it's a balance. You have to really, if you look at every different healing modality, we all talk about balance, the yin and the yang and the balancing of the energy and the balancing, so I think it's a balance. I think you have to trust the things that obviously I want you doing the foundational pieces like we talked before, but as you're doing that, you also have to trust your intuition and know that what you're doing is working and spend some time doing those things. Like we said, with sitting in meditation, doing your deep breathing, doing things that you love, experience joy throughout this process. So I think you have to have both, and it's a balance.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you so much for indulging my tendencies.
I love it.
So in terms of the fertility journey, what do you feel like are the crucial elements to getting to that point of positive pregnancy test, the healthy pregnancy? What do you think is missing in the way that most people are approaching their fertility journey?
Yeah. So one thing I love to do, which I know we've talked about this before, but I like to test. I test, don't guess. I like to look deep into the hormones. I like to do my dried urine testing because it's more comprehensive than blood. I like to look at that hair mineral analysis, and I like to get down deep. I also do a 100-question questionnaire, which looks at past, present, future, and kind of pinpoints things that most people don't think can relate to fertility, like past traumas, or even like, did you have a car wreck and hit your head and now your pituitary's messed up, or your pineal gland? And so I like to test and get down deep and really look at all those factors. And then I want to make sure that all those foundational pieces are there. I can't tell you, like I said in the beginning, how many times I'll meet with a couple and I'll say like, these are the things we need to do to make sure your foundation is where it needs to be with the hormone puzzle, all those pieces I talked about. And many people are not doing that. Or if they are, they're just barely doing it, but they're still eating their fast food and their sugary foods and things. Right. So I think it's a little bit of both. That's what I see as missing, is the testing piece, and then making sure all those foundational pieces are laid. And then trusting the process and with the feminine energy, all three of those together.
Yeah, awesome. And so in the process of doing these foundational pieces and supporting the feminine energy and all of that, how important is it to have support, a team around you that can actually support this process?
I'm a huge fan of building your team, which I know you are too. I get this question a lot, where people say, well, I already have a fertility clinic. Like, why do I need to work with you? Or why do I need to get a naturopath if I have a Western medicine doctor? And I feel like everybody brings something to the table. And it's about giving you the most support that you need during this journey. And sometimes I find when you're in it, I know this was my experience, when you're in it, you can't see things that an outsider or professional can see. So having those people on your team to kind of help guide you and support you, you're going to get there faster. It's going to be easier, and they're going to cut away all the Dr. Google bull that you're trying to do and say, okay, this is what I see. This is what you should do. And let me help guide you through that.
I was just listening to this podcast from another doctor that I adore. And she was talking about when she came out of medical school, she wanted to go to another naturopathic doctor. And she was like, I couldn't find anyone that was doing the cool stuff. Like, it was just like the cookie cutter, like, yeah, you can come in for an appointment. And she's like, no, I really want someone who's going to flip my health to where I want it to be in a certain given amount of time and have tracking and day-to-day analysis and stuff like that. And she's like, no one was doing it. So I created it, So even the top coaches and doctors in the world need support. And to expect a person that isn't a medical doctor, who has their own profession most of the time, and on top of it, they're like, oh, I'm going to go get a medical degree from Google. Right. And like literally sit here and research every single thing. And I love it. Some of my clients are geeks and they just love this stuff. But for the people that are not, I think it's really important to be able to have a team around you that can bring in all of the pieces and components that you need to create a flourishing, fertile environment.
For sure. And the other thing I want to say about that is, you and I, we work in this field day in and day out. We have case after case after case. So I've seen things. So the one person coming in, you just know your case. You haven't seen all these other people. And so I feel like we bring a level of education to that, a level of experience where we can look, usually I can look at somebody's form and be like, this is jumping out right here. I've worked with this before and this is what's going on. Let's fix that. And then they get pregnant and they're like, oh my gosh, I've been to 10 doctors. Nobody's ever said that to me. So it's super cool.
Yeah. And it's important to feel someone else can see the picture and the puzzle, like so appropriately named.
Yes.
Like the puzzle pieces better than you can right while you're in this situation. Exactly. So you are paying someone not necessarily for doing tests and telling you what supplements to take. You are paying someone to look at this entire puzzle and be like, here's the one piece that's going to flip this on its head.
Exactly.
And you're like, wait, what? That's it? Are you sure? Right? Like, yes, I've seen this 100 times. Yep. I've got you. Now just trust it and go with me. That's awesome. I love that perspective. And I feel like people do this a lot. They come to practitioners as like, oh, I'm paying you for your time, or I'm paying you for coaching, or I'm paying you for this. No, you're really paying us to be like, here is the one magic thing that we can focus on and have you get the result you want faster.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right? You don't want to be doing this for another 3 years.
Exactly.
You want to do this today.
Yep, And you're paying us for our years of experience, not for that 1 hour I might work with you in a session. Right. You're getting all of this. So
You're getting really that breadth of knowledge and the depth of knowledge that comes from doing this day in and day out and putting the pieces together in a different way than the average consumer, or your ability to like go and Google something, which I feel like there's so many answers on Google, but if you dig further enough, you will find opposing answers. Right? Like everything has a negative. Like,
don't eat that. Do this. Don't do that.
Yes. So really give your brain a break and find that team that is going to support you, that you can trust, and like relax and let go a little bit, so that you can be in your feminine, right?
Exactly. I love it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being with me today. And I know that you have some amazing tips for our listeners. We will give all of the social media links to following Coach Kela on our show notes. I was like, what is that thing called? The show notes. Do you want to share any last words and where people should connect with you?
Sure. So I just want to tell everybody listening that you can do this. I don't care what you've been told in the past. I don't care what your beliefs are, what your old thought patterns. You can do this. It will happen. You will get pregnant. So don't give up. Keep pushing. If you have a doctor or practitioner that's telling you one thing and you're like, that just doesn't sound right, listen to that intuition and find somebody else that will listen to you and that will solve this puzzle for you. So you can do this. That's what I want to leave them with. And then where can you find me? So my favorite place to hang out is Instagram. I'm at Kela_health coach. And then I'm also on my website at coachkela.com, and Kela's Kela. So coachkela.com. And there I have a bunch of free gifts. I have a fertility meal plan, I have a cycle optimizing guide, and a pregnancy meal plan. So check those out. And I'm on my podcast, the Hormone Puzzle Podcast.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
And we will look forward to all of your tips. Was that an amazing episode or what? Make sure to check our show notes so that you can link up with our guests. And if you're not a part of our secret Fertile AF community, you can join for free via the link in our show notes. Last but not least, have you showed us some love lately? It would mean the world to us if you could share and review our podcast. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time on Egg Meets Sperm. Peace.